So, like, you know, you're the analytical guy, and I'm the, like, outtake. I'm the hot take guy.
You're the hot guy. I like it.
Yeah, there we go. Delete it. Did you hit recording?
Yeah, we're
Okay,
recording.
so-
It's looking good. Looking good. The waves are nice and big, bigger than they have ever been.
Little 6-foot waves.
Yeah,
It's an oxymoron.
they're not 2-foot waves like they were. All right, I guess. Here, let me.
Yeah, whenever you get the countdown going,
Yeah,
we're a startup band.
it's all about trying to find like the right.
Yeah, there's a comfort zone. You want to get in the right eigenvector.
There we go.
Good.
The right what?
Eigenvector, eigenvalue. Right. There's a certain. I don't even.
Is he related to Rasputin?
Who? That sounds like a fictional guy.
I'm pretty sure he is.
Yeah. Was he the guy that fell asleep under the apple tree?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then he turned into.
You had to pay him gold coins or else he'll eat your kids.
Whoa. Hello.
Mhm.
That seems like very progressive.
Yeah. Like the insurance company.
I'm just saying that thing was made up in like the 1800s.
I'm going to intro.
Okay.
Beep, boop, pop. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 5th episode of the Neon Crew podcast. I'm Kyle.
Hey, everyone, and I'm Mac.
Hey, welcome. How you doing, Mac?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I got issues with my car, so that's fantastic.
Say it isn't so.
No, it's true. Well, my mom made a good point. It's 17 years old, so I mean, you know, if it were a dog, it's past its prime.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know like how you rate a car in years, because a 17-year-old's like still getting to his prime, but a dog you're ready to put out.
Yeah, no, cars definitely age more like dogs than they do people.
That's what I'm thinking, but I don't think it's quite as severe as a dog.
No.
Like, I think it's probably like 4 years, so the thing's probably, 58, 56 in human years.
Like with anything, if you take good care of it, I feel like it will last quite a while.
17 years is a good run. You
Yeah.
keep a dog around for 17 years, you did something right.
Yeah, dogs, that's about how long they live.
Yeah.
It depends on the breed, but
So I don't know how long. I don't know. We'll find out. I got to take it into the shop, and I got to have him look at it, and hopefully not get friggin' haggled. You
Yeah.
know, that's the worst thing about not knowing anything.
if they try to haggle you, send me their way. I'll show them what for.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because,
yeah.
I'm the muscle of the two of us,
I
of course.
show up with the baseball bat, breaking windows.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
My
saying.
bald head, I'll just smash their windshield with my head.
Hey, what's up? Episode 5, season 1, Breaking Bad. You go in there with that pound of made-up bomb stuff.
The fulminated mercury.
Yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Probably should. I'll hold off on talking about that because I think you could actually do that.
We'll save Breaking Bad for. We got plans. We've got plans for Breaking Bad.
It's in the talks.
But before we get started, we have some movie news to get into.
Well, hey, how are you doing? I don't think I ever asked that. How's everything going?
That's
smooth?
the first time you've ever asked that before.
See, I'm getting better.
Wow, that's very considerate. I'm doing pretty well. I'm a little tired. I had to work this morning.
Yeah.
I work at the good old Club of Sam's under the Walmart banner. So
Sure.
that is take that how you will. It's got its good days. It's got its really tiring, not so good days. And today was a little bit of a grind, but I got through it. With the skin on my teeth, as they say.
If this were a zombie movie, you'd probably end up being the hero because I could imagine Sam's Club being a nice place to build a fort.
I always think that it would be like a good base, because you've got like all that equipment, you've got tons of food,
Yeah.
you've got people who know how to work the building, so I feel like it'd be a good thing to do.
Perimeter set up.
Yeah. The only thing you'd have to worry about is it's like pretty close to the highway, so you have to worry about wanderers all the time,
True.
travelers,
Yeah.
nomads who may be up to no good. I've watched Walking Dead. I know how that stuff goes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's as long as you're prepped for it.
Yeah. Which, I mean, who knows? Who depends? We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see when it happens, not if. But no. So that's how I'm doing. I guess doing pretty well.
Cool. Yeah, that's good. So we got a good lineup. We got a good show then coming.
That's right. all my energy is going to be focused.
Dumped into it.
Just plopped onto the table right in front of us.
Jordan, Game 6, here we come.
That's a sports thing,
Yeah.
I think. So like I said before, we got some movie news, and I'm sure you've heard about it. And if you've even been like paying close attention to just the general news, you probably know where we're going with this. But so a few days ago in New Mexico, they were shooting this movie called Rust, starring Alec Baldwin. And it just so happened that there was an incident on set where like the prop master handed him a loaded gun as opposed to a gun that had blanks. And so they were...
The prop master did?
I think so. I think that's what happened. Because
They're
it was...
putting it on that guy now?
Well, there was a... Here, let me read up on this a little bit before I go any further. Shooting... So October 21st, 2021, Assistant Director Dave Halls selected one of 3 prop guns placed on a cart by Reed, who I'm assuming is the prop master, and handed it to Baldwin before proclaiming the term cold gun, informing the rest of the crew that it was empty. It was the 12th day of a 21-day shoot, and the cast was rehearsing a gunfight that takes place inside of a church. The B camera operator was situated on a camera dolly, looking at a monitor with Hutchins and Souza both nearby. The scene involved Baldwin's character removing a gun from its holster. The second time he did so at approximately 1:50 p.m. Mountain Time. Baldwin discharged the props gun a single time, and the projectile flew towards the trio behind the monitor, striking Souza in the clavicle and Hutchins in the chest. So Hutchins was the cinematographer
That passed away.
From this incident, and then the director got injured from it. And from what I have read, and I could be totally off base with this claim, but I've read from multiple sources that it had gone off twice before. The weapon discharged.
Actually, the one he shot, they kept using the same one, or multiple weapons had gone off?
I think it was just like they had incidents like that happen before. I don't know if it was necessarily the same gun or if it was just different guns. It sounds like, based on the premise of the movie, it sounds like a film that has lots of prop weapons nearby. Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you have an incident like this.
It's an old Western type. I mean, it's about, I can't remember exactly what the movie is, but isn't it about like a kid that accidentally shoots someone? Or
the premise is, I'll read the premise right now. Harlan Rust is an outlaw from the Old West who rescues his 13-year-old grandson, Lucas, after he is sentenced to hang for an accidental murder. Now fugitives, the pair have to outrun U.S. Marshal Wood Helm, that's an interesting name, and bounty hunter Fenton Preacher Lang. It sounds pretty rustic, I guess. The name fits well. When I first heard the name, I thought it was based off that video game that people were streaming not too long ago.
Red Dead Redemption?
Not Red Dead Redemption. It was this like kind of survival MMO sort of multiplayer game that you could play with other people online.
Sure.
And it got really popular, I think, like half a year ago with streamers, even though the game had been out for a while. And I thought for just the name alone, I thought it was based on that, but it's a totally separate thing, totally different intellectual property.
They could have taken creative liberties.
Mm-hmm. But man, I feel bad for Alec Baldwin. I mean, it was just an accident. And
oh God, dude!
If you've watched if you've seen the pictures of him online, because like someone took a picture of him like right after it happened, and he's just like doubled over, like hunched down in the parking lot, like just looking totally defeated, which I mean I would understand.
Well, it's I was talking to my buddies, and I think at like 10:30 someone sent out that link that he had done it, so I didn't know if it were true or not, so I had to go look it up, and you read on it, and it's just there's like so many things hit me. Mm-hmm. Obviously you got to mourn for the 42 years old, I think the cinematographer was.
Yeah,
like, that's pretty.
She wasn't old.
Yeah.
by any means.
You know, so you got that. You have the other one that you're hoping is going to turn, and then you're looking at Baldwin, and you're really hoping that he's all right. Because, I mean, like, dude, to have that on your conscience for the rest of your life, like, not trying to get too deep, but...
Right. Well, it reminded me immediately of what happened to Brandon Lee back in...
when he was...
Crow? Yeah, when he was shooting The Crow. Because... obviously, like with this incident coming up, people have brought up Brandon Lee. You know that.
Oh yeah.
It's like the first time that's happened since it happened to Brandon Lee, and so people have been sharing the quote from the guy who shot the gun. I forget the actor's name.
Right.
But he was quoted as saying he still has nightmares to this day about the incident, and it's been what 30 years since it happened.
I can't even imagine. Like, purposely taking someone else's life will weigh you down. Could you imagine accidentally doing something like that? I mean, just like what you... And the thing that sucks with him, too, is like he's 62, 68, 72, something like that. Like, he's an older dude. Like, you're on the tail end of it, of your life. You lived the good one so far. I mean, God knows what's in his, his freaking closet. But to have that happen... I feel bad for him and like the family like that. It's crazy. But then the other side of me too, which is the awful Hollywood side. But like, what's the best marketing thing that you could do for a movie that really no one ever knows about?
Oh, Jesus.
I'm just saying, like, and I don't know. The problem with it being a movie person is that you go into movie mode where you craft your own, like, all right, like if you had to make this film, you couldn't market it. You're not going to reach a big audience. What's the best thing you do?
Well, do you even think that they'll continue? That's
I don't know.
my question.
No, I don't. I think that this is just going to die.
I feel like it's going to get scrapped. And if it doesn't get scrapped, it's going to be reworked entirely. They're going to get a different star. They're going to get maybe a different director. Obviously, they'd have to get a different cinematographer.
I don't know how big of a film it is. Like, the production house that took it on, I don't know how much money they can eat on it. Like, obviously, it's going to be a sunk cost if you walk away from it. But, like, you're going to have...
it's a pretty small movie. It's only budgeted at $7 million.
So, when Brandon Lee was killed on the set of The Crow, they kept going with that, obviously.
Yeah.
It was The Crow, right?
It was The Crow, and take this as, however you want, but it's super ironic how it happened. The scene that he died in, I think, was supposed to be the character's death scene.
Yeah, that's what... I don't know how easy it is to fake an identity or to have...
I think they just re-edited the movie around what had happened so that it made a cohesive storyline and then pretty much dedicated the movie to him because...
Yeah, which it
what
still
else would you do?
I don't know... not have it go out so people don't have to see it and be like every time you see The Crow think of Brandon Lee's accidental death. But I mean, it's money, it's movies.
Yeah,
so.
At that point you can argue that it's more of like a tribute to him and not necessarily trying to be a reminder of what happened.
Not knowing Hollywood, but seeing how Hollywood operates and like just hearing stuff about it, I'm sure it's nice to throw it out there, but I think it's more in line of we dumped $5 million into this thing and we can't take a loss on it.
Well,
so what's the easiest thing to do to pivot on that is to have it be released and then throw it in his name. We want a tribute. We want to make sure. Maybe they put forth after that too. I mean, there might be more research on it. Maybe they enacted something where there's more gun safety regulations. Maybe there's more checkpoints with prop guns. Like they might have went through and said, all right, obviously there's a flaw in the system. This is accidental, but we got to make sure this never happens again. If that happened, then I would say, all right, 100%. They took it on, they understood, and they said, we still have to release this, but we want to make sure that making movies is safer. If they just release it and put it in his name, like how hard is that?
Right.
Where'd some of that money go to? Like that's what I'd want to know. I mean, if they were really serious about, all right, this is awful and we really care about this tragedy, then we're gonna do something about it.
Yeah, actions have to match words.
Yeah. So it's nice that they threw his name on the film, but like what's that cost them? What are they? What's
Well, I mean, he was already going to be the star too.
yeah, but to say, hey, this is tributed to, like, what does that? It doesn't really do much besides saying, like, we're grieving for this. This is an awful accident, but we have to just press forward, and that's kind of what Hollywood reminds. That's what I'm saying. Like this one,
Yeah, it's multifaceted for sure.
Yeah,
and well, this case, it's it's different because Brandon Lee was the star of the movie, whereas.
Well, Anna was a big time movie. I mean, it's probably like Lionsgate or whoever was Miramax or someone probably was coming out with it, because I mean it had a poster and everything. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
I mean,
they were
Netflix,
and they were also like pretty far into production. They were basically done.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it seems like it's still pretty early or like halfway through filming, maybe.
Yeah.
So. There's a good chance that they'll probably just scrap it, and it'd be understandable if they did. But if they brought it back, if they tried to like continue with it, I think it would go through a lot of changes. But that's just my viewpoint.
No, I agree 100%.
Mm-hmm. So kind of shifting gears a little bit from depressing movie news to. Something a little more cheerful.
Really?
I think.
All right.
Not necessarily news, but just something that I kind of wanted to do, you and me, in this episode.
Yes.
So it's October, and we've put out 2 episodes during this month.
Have we?
Something like that, probably, right?
Well, we got 4 on the docket, so it's going to be 1 or 2.
Yeah, 1 or 2.
Definitely not 3.
One of those.
I was a betting man.
But it's come to my attention that you and I haven't really touched on any sort of spooky, scary horror movies.
Spooky.
Considering that it's Halloween season, and we haven't really talked about anything like that.
No.
And with the movies that we're going to talk about, we won't really get the chance to do so in October. But
right.
I figured we could go over maybe some sort of spooky Halloween themes before we get into discussions.
I'd probably think of a couple that I'd recommend people to check out. Fun, maybe as I get talking, I'll see how I feel,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm trying to go and I'm racking my brain thinking of some of the ones. I already have one lined up.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people, as soon as I start talking, will turn this off or skip ahead.
Well, I
figured
figured
about this enough.
I figured the first thing we could do is go over movies from our childhood that scared us, or aspects of movies that scared us as children.
Yeah.
And they might not necessarily be horror movies, because mine really aren't. I wasn't big into the horror scene as a kid. I was very afraid to watch those types of movies.
Really?
Yeah, I had a really hard time watching a horror movie. I don't even think I really did until like late high school, early college.
My dad was like, he had like I don't want to say principles, but it was like my kids aren't gonna be afraid of lightning, and they aren't gonna be like afraid of the dark.
Mm-hmm.
So best you can do.
He was like throw you into the deep end of the pool when you're 2 weeks old.
He would have.
Guy.
It's not. Yeah, but he didn't like turn on the movie and walk out and just be like, "All right, you can leave when this is over." Like he'd sit there like the lightning comes in, lightning and thunder. When you're a kid, it kind of scares you. He'd be like, "All right, come on, you're gonna come down to the living room. We're gonna watch this together. And you're just gonna be there, and I'll be here and just show you what it's like." So we were like that with movies too. Like he was like, "You're not gonna be afraid of the dark, so we're gonna watch scary movies." So I mean, like, are we hopping into it? Because, okay, yeah, because.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, for sure.
I think it was first or second grade. This is the first time I saw Silver Bullet, and that was, I think, from my recollection, probably the first time I watched a scary movie. I think we watched The Stand, the 4-part series on Sci-Fi. It's got to be like around the same time. But
is not knowing anything about Silver Bullet, I'm gonna try to guess as to what it's about. Is that about a werewolf?
Ooh, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
what gave it away?
Silver Bullet. gave it away.
You gotta shoot him with an old silver bullet.
Yeah. Is that a line in the movie?
It's something like that. They get to. There's a point where they're kind of figuring out what's happening, and they bring in like they collect some jewelry, and they go to the gunsmith, and they're making them, and it's this like old 70-year-old dude, and he's making it. And they do like a little montage, and he gets done. It's not even before. It's after he gets done with the silver bullet. He looks at me, goes like, "What are you hunting? Werewolves with this?" And it's just one bullet, and the kids are like, "No." Like they got to play it cool. Like,
Dang,
yeah.
That sounds very campy.
So
Probably not as a kid.
No, well, exactly. I was about to say and if you guys have seen it, the greenhouse scene scared the crap out of me, and and the fog scene. So what they did was with the werewolf, because obviously it's like really low budgeted.
Yeah. It's probably all like practical puppet effects.
It would be it's almost like a jump scare, but like they'd have the camera, they do it where they show the face of the werewolf or the silhouette of the body, just kind of panning, or it'd stop. And it adds into the creepiness of it, of like kind of where it's at, you don't really see it. So then it smashes over, and it's just, boom, there it is. So, I think we were in, it was like first or second grade, me, my brother, and a buddy of mine. I think we had a sleepover or whatever. My dad rented it from, here's a plug, Blockbuster. And,
shout out to Blockbuster.
Yeah. And, it was good. It was fun. We saw it. It scared us. There was a couple like scenes that were haunting, and when you're that young, I think my dad was probably like, all right, this isn't like the worst thing. The biggest joke that I really wish I would still have, like with my son. Do you ever hear of The Exorcist?
Yeah.
So when
still need to watch it, but
it's actually, it turns out it's kind of like The Shining. Like people talk about like, you want to see the scariest movies ever?
Yeah.
Watch The Exorcist.
It's got a reputation.
Watch The Shining. Like, it's gonna freak you out.
It's gonna freak your hair off, bro.
Yeah. Like, just wait. Like,
just wait, bro.
Dude, scariest movie I've ever seen.
Knock your socks off, more like knock your rocks off. You know what I'm saying, bro?
And that would be the biggest joke. My dad, my uncle, even my cousin, like it would be like, hey, I remember, my cousin, I remember him telling me, he's like, I remember in high school I had a bunch of people come over. It was Halloween, and he goes, I came up to my uncle, his dad. He goes, hey, I want to show everyone a scary movie. Like, what do you think I could show them? And he goes, my dad was like, oh, the Exorcist is kind of spooky. And he goes, we all watched it, scared the living hell out of us. Right?
Yeah.
And like, I remember being like, whoa, like that. Oh, I can't wait. I want to get that scared, And we watched it like when we were like, I don't know, we were young. I don't want to give a certain age because I don't want people getting in trouble. But I remember seeing it being like, oh, that was kind of creepy. I think it was the context was a little bit more for me than, it's a child getting, possessed by a demon.
Yeah.
And if you're young, it's kind of a little over your head. So, but then like if you watched it now, there'd probably be some things that you're like, man, that's kind of freaky.
Yeah,
but
I'd guess some heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, but it's really just like a good film. Like The Shining's just like a good film.
Yeah. Shining is very, I would say it's like a combination of like a horror psychological thriller.
Yeah. And so it's funny too, because, Kubrick directed it, and apparently he had some beef with Stephen King. So there's all these theories out there. But there, I've heard some people watch it almost in like a comedic fashion, like a dark comedy, like you said, psychological thriller. Some people just take it for I always just call it Disturbia, but that kind of what's lurking, what's going on, playing into cabin fever essentially. So, I was about to say, I think along the lines of that, So what one scared you? Like, what one you saw it in high school and had to sleep with the light on? What one was that?
By the time I did watch horror movies, it was it wasn't too difficult for me to not be scared by them.
Were you too cool for being scared?
Cool. Yeah, super, super too cool. No, when I was a kid, the things that scared me in movies, because obviously I didn't watch horror movies because I didn't want to watch horror movies.
Right. That was your choice.
I was terrified of them.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So the movies that I did watch that I did get scared from are kind of unique in the sense that I got more afraid from like animal monsters in movies than like ghosts or
like Jaws,
like demons. Yeah, like Jaws or
Jaws scared the hell out of me.
You ever watch The Sandlot?
Oh yeah, dude, Hercules. I make that joke all the time. I just saw one of my guys I coach with has a dog that's like that, and I just looked at it, I was like, that's a big ass dog.
The dog scared me in that movie, but only in the scenes where Squints is telling the story.
Exactly, when the bones.
Mm-hmm. And he ate them bones and all.
Probably like killed 100 people.
When I was a kid and I watched that movie, it really freaked me out, and I loved that movie when I was young. But it still like hit me sometimes when that scene would pop up and he'd start talking about the dog, and I was like, I can't look at this scene. This scene, like I would physically turn away from the screen whenever the big like practical effects dog would pop up.
I think the scariest one are like out of that, because it's just that black and white scene. Mm-hmm. For me, it was when they started loading it up into like the box truck. It's like at the very end when they go, we had to take it out or put it down or whatever, and then it shows them like coming out and they're putting it in there and they kind of show it. I mean, it looks like a giant warthog, but that's the one that got me. That, and then thinking of, it wasn't like, I watched it, I don't know, not too long ago. It's funny because when you watch it, you're like, oh, this is like a 9-year-old telling a story. But when you're 9, you're actually sucked into like how he's telling it.
Yeah.
So, him talking about it and making it sound scary and killing and all that, like you don't take it for the comedic purpose. Like if you watched it again, I don't know when the last time you saw it was, he talks about that dog killing all the burglars. Mm-hmm. There's a point, I mean, he says when he'd eat them, there's bodies, like guys flying. Everywhere, and you're like,
it's kind of a grim scene when you think about it from like the perspective of a kid watching it.
Yeah, I was about to say,
it's such a tonal shift, because the whole movie's like, sunshine and like, there's some like kind of heavy themes, but for the most part, it's about friendship, and then they hit you with the dog story.
Well, and it works though, because I mean, if you think about it, towards the end of it, as it's going on, and I can't believe we're talking about the Sandlot in October, but hey, World Series baseball, let's go. It plays into the tail end of it for when they have to get into the chase down and they get the ball back. I mean, because the whole time you're actually scared for their lives. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know I was like, and it's kind of, if you see it when you're 9 or 10, you buy into it. I think when you're
I definitely did.
17, 18, you kind of look back and you're like, oh, this is just fun. This is a cool summer, and it's one of those things, like it's like building a tree fort, and you're like, you and your buddy got to protect the forest from zombies.
Yeah, and it works because it reminds you of that sort of childhood imagination that you had, where everything just seemed bigger, everything just seemed more absolute, and just you could believe a story about a dog eating a bunch of burglars.
100%.
That was that big.
Yeah, that was the size. Like if it was a U-Haul fit, they put it into a U-Haul car. Like I remember, like when you watch it, it's just that truck's huge.
Or at least you could buy into it a little easier, I guess.
It's still cool. I mean, because like when you look back on it, it's not like the story changes. I think it's funnier, and then you're like, wow, this is a 9-year-old telling other 9-year-olds. You know, and then so you hear him tell it, and you just kind of laugh because like, if you talk to a kid, it's in 2nd grade, he'd tell you a story like that. Mm-hmm. So at this age, like you hear him and you just got to laugh because it's like, oh man, like I wish I had that imagination and creativity again.
Yeah, yeah. You watch the movie back and you think to yourself, oh, these are just kids telling a story.
Yeah.
That's completely accurate to how they actually do.
What they've seen or believe, and it's the fear behind the wall too. They don't know what lurks back there. They just know that their baseballs go away, and they created this monster so they wouldn't hop the fence to go get them.
Yeah, their imaginations are bigger than reality.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, that did scare me.
And then one a couple more things I guess I wrote down. I didn't have like a whole lot because like I said, I tended to avoid horror movies.
Well, now I can see why we're a little light in the bridges and with the Halloween talk and the movies.
It gets me shaking in my boots. I can't do it.
I was about to say I'll rattle off a couple too. I mean that's I don't know who's listening. You go ahead first because
no. Really, the only other one I had was that was like a couple more animal examples, like the snake from Anaconda.
Of course, saw that with my dad and my brother at the drive-in.
Which I didn't even sit down and watch the whole movie. I just happened to like walk by it playing on the TV. And I just saw like a scene of someone getting eaten by a snake.
It was when the guy jumped out of the waterfall and the snake coils down and grabs him by the face and brings him up.
It's like, something like that where it's stuck in my mind.
We got more like examples like that because I got,
like that, and then when I was like real little, like do you remember An American Tail? The
mouse?
Yeah, the kids movie with the mouse.
That scared you?
Well, no, like, okay. First of all, you are older than me. So I was a kid watching it, you were probably like what, 5th grade or something?
I've never seen it.
Okay. There's a scene in the movie.
It's animated though, right?
It's animated, but there's a scene in the movie where they bring out like this big, almost like steampunk robot.
Okay.
Mouse rat looking thing, and it's like 10 times larger than the mice and the cats or whatever, because the cats are the bad guys in the movie, and they like release it to like fight against the cats, and it's like this monstrous like big fire breathing like Godzilla sounding thing.
So this thing is a good guy. They use it as a weapon and it still gotcha?
Yeah. It kind of freaks me out. Like, I'll look up a picture and I'll show you.
Okay.
And then you'll kind of understand.
Because I was just thinking about that, but I guess my example. Well, so if we're talking like little kids movie that scared you, the toaster one.
Oh, Brave Little Toaster.
Brave Little Toaster. There's a scene in that when it shows the Brave Little Toaster with like all the grown up appliances or whatever, and they're all. I don't know. They get demented or something. I guess
I'm showing Mac the picture of the rat.
I guess
thing.
I could. I'm not gonna say.
I mean, imagine being 5 years old and then that thing comes up.
Dude, I mean, I saw a Silver Bullet when I was like 7.
Okay.
So I mean, like I was watching, and I'm not. This is just that's how I don't even know if I saw stuff like that when I was 5. My memory doesn't go that far back, but like. Silver Bullet was 1st or 2nd grade when my dad just thought it was a great idea to say, hey, you guys want to scare yourselves? Here you go. Mm-hmm. Watch the greenhouse scene in Silver Bullet and then like tell me, so that it did prep me. But like I'm telling you right now, Brave Little Toaster, probably that was like 6 or 7 when I saw that. Pinocchio.
A lot of the old cartoons had a lot of creepy elements in them.
Oh, dude, like you talk that in claymation, like the herky jerkiness in claymation scares RoboCop, like from 1980 something. I saw that when I was like 16, 17. Mm-hmm. And when that thing comes out and it's like scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, it's like a Tool music video, Never mind.
No, I don't. People.
You're not big into Tool?
People used to make jokes like Tool, they used to do that. I thought they were making jokes. I didn't know it was a band.
No, it is a band.
I know. I Wikipedia'd them one day. I was like, is this thing like a real thing? And then it is. And I just was like, man, it's just, oh well.
Yeah. Their music videos stand out. Let's just say that. They're very creepy.
I believe it. Maybe I'll check in the spirit of Halloween.
Yeah, there you go. Did you have any more?
I mean, I got, for me, well, there's one, if we're talking experiences, we did a sleepover at one of my parents' friends' houses. Like they had kids, so me and my brother would go stay over there. And one time I think it was my parents' friends. I had to go to the bathroom, so I get up and I go out and I'm going to the bathroom, and they had a movie on from Sci-Fi. Mm-hmm. Dennis Miller's in it. It's this vampire brothel. And he's got to go in there and like, this is me. I had to look this movie up like 5 years ago.
Dennis Miller. That's a name that I forgot.
He's a comedian. He did I think political comedian.
Yeah, he's on Fox News all the time or something.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. He got on to Monday Night Football for a year or two, and they axed him. So, but he's in this, and he goes to this vampire brothel, and one of the guys gets seduced by a vampire, and so I'm walking to go to the bathroom, and it's a movie. I'm gonna watch it. And this guy is getting sweet talked by a vampire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, 3 seconds later, she sticks her tongue through his ear, and it pops out the other side of his head. And like that was a whoa. And then the guy just plopped down, and it was like, and then she's like licking her lips.
I didn't know vampires did that. I thought they just bit your neck.
When did the
tongue thing start happening?
It was a vampire brothel, so I mean, it's like one of those. They're trying to make it. They were scantily clad.
They got to make it exotic somehow.
Yeah, and the thing, so I mean, I think I was like 5 or 6 when I saw that. That scared the hell out of me for a while. Just like people can do that with their tongues because you don't know it's a vampire. Even in movies, it's like anything can happen.
Yeah, it could just be some person.
Yeah, I mean, I just imagine someone like sticking their tongue through my head. Killing, like that's like all right. You got to watch yourself for that.
Yeah, I didn't know that was such a deep fear of yours.
I got past it after some time.
Did you now? You're bringing it up a lot in this moment.
Well, we're talking about like things that scared you. Like that was a big, like that, and I can't even remember. Salem's Lot. Salem's Lot scared me a little bit when the little kid gets taken by the vampire.
Okay.
That was a big one. Like, don't walk in the woods at night. A lot of the stuff I think like like Stranger Danger for me wasn't like necessarily people. It was the fact that they could do like, a vampire will suck your blood, kill you, and you'll turn into a vampire. Like that's why I avoided people. It wasn't like you're gonna get abducted and all the bad stuff. Mm-hmm. It was like, all right, they're gonna like a werewolf's gonna grab me and just rip me to shreds like in Silver Bullet. Mm-hmm. So it worked out. I made it, but those were the big things. Past that, like once you get going, I think like jump scares kill me. Like I get anxious watching movies, so jump scares will get me. Like trying to get ready for that moment.
Yeah.
Hereditary Hereditary was really good.
Yeah, Hereditary did a good job, and that was more of like a subtle sort of. It still had like some jump scare stuff in it, but it was more so in line with like the themes and the overall like atmosphere. It's easy for movies nowadays to just put in this booming music, sound effect, whatever, and then have something just pop up on screen, and like, your natural reaction is going to be to jump.
Oh yeah,
at something like that, and a lot of crappy horror movies will do that. It's the good ones that don't do that really stand out because you get like a lot of schlock when it comes to horror movies. I mean,
well, you get the money grab aspect of it now where people are they go to it because it's like going on a ride. I want to be scared.
It's like I want to see a horror movie on Halloween.
Yeah, so we're going to make it filled with this, that, and the other. So, and I think people don't appreciate it because what sucks about Halloween movies and scary movies is that you watch it one time. If it's filled with jump scares, the second time you see it, the rush is gone.
Yeah. So
now you're just kind of watching it to see, all right, like the villain again. I want to go through that, like the trail maze with them. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out in 2004, like the redid version. Mm-hmm. And I remember my buddies, they went out and watched it and saw it, and they're like, man, it was so scary. And then I hadn't seen it, so we came back, and it was like, I might have came out to Blockbuster or whatever. And it's like, you guys want to watch this? Like, no. Like, it's just, and that's when you know a movie's not that good.
Yeah, there's no replayability.
Yeah, I got my fill. Oh my God, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, dude, when that guy shuts the meat locker. There's so many scenes that I've seen, like Alien. Do you ever seen Alien?
I watched Alien for the first time a few months ago.
When he goes through like the 1978.
Yeah, the first one.
I think it's Ridley Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and remember when he's climbing through the
vents?
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
And then that scared the hell out of me.
Oh, I believe it. That whole movie was just so. It is claustrophobic. Yeah, is a good word for it.
And it's funny too. I mean, like learning about it too, and I don't want to segue like a whole bunch because we're talking about getting scared, but it was one of the first movies where they killed off a title character. Like,
well, yeah, because it, like, I mean, obviously, I watched it knowing the fact that I don't know. We don't have to get into specific
we don't have to give out
spoilers
names, but like
of Alien, but it's very clear if you know the franchise, like who survives in the first movie, and even watching it, knowing that fact, me watching it for the first time, knowing that a certain character is going to make it, they do a good job of making you feel like every character has an equal chance of surviving.
Very true.
Or dying.
I mean, if you don't know, so the first time you watch it, you see her, I mean, like, and you're not, because I think I saw it when I was 11, 12. I think it was in middle school when we watched it for the first time, you know? And I don't know any of that. But, I mean, like, watching it, 3 people could make it out of that thing.
Yeah.
1 person could, or they could all die. And they just, I mean, obviously, you know that they don't, because I think like, Alien 3 or Alien Resurrection had just come out. So I was, like, really, like, I want to see that. But yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
you know?
It's got, you know, like we were talking about before, it's got replayability. You know, the acting's
100%.
good, the atmosphere is good, the music's spot on. You know, it's something that you can get a lot out of from more than one viewing. Whereas a movie like, I don't know, Paranormal Activity, you watch it once and you like might get jump scared a few times, and that's basically all you get from it. You know, it's a roller coaster movie. That's
serious. Like it. You go for a ride.
Yeah,
you go for a ride, and it's one of the things. Like the other thing that sucks about, you know, why I like watching quality horror films, and like I'm not going to be pretentious, or like the campy ones, is so that you don't get sucked into the mainstream media. Because like I remember when Paranormal came out, everyone, that's all they talked about. Have you seen this? It's based on a true story. No one really knows because it was like you know, not before the internet, obviously, but you know, internet was coming along, so we got websites getting crafted. So I mean, they could do a big marketing campaign with it, and I don't even want to say it like that because the internet had been around for 8 years. But you know what I'm saying? Like Wikipedia was like just becoming like the next big thing that people were like, don't use Wikipedia to cite sources. So everyone talked about Paranormal Activity when it came out when I was in college. They're like, it's super scary. It's super scary. I get scared of that. And like, that's the big thing with scary movies is you can relate to the next person because you can go, did you see this? Oh yeah. Dude, can you believe how crazy that was? Like you could go to a grocery store and just talk about like if they had seen it and both you guys relate to the experience.
It's a good like general conversation starter.
Yeah, but that's why I'm not big into the mainstream ones because it's like it's designed to scare like 75% of the people. So you're going to have, it's targeted at everyone. So it's not like specific to what might scare you or me, you know?
When something very similar to that, it makes me think of Blair Witch.
Yeah.
When that first came out.
That was another one that scared the shit out of me.
That was a little bit before my time, you know.
Same here.
That would have come out during the time when I would have been way too young or way too scared to watch any movie that was like that.
That was 02, 03, right?
It was very early. Let me look it up to verify.
Here, you can go on. I'll look it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that movie, when it came out, you know, there was no Wikipedia. There was no like easily accessible information about the production of the movie.
Right.
So when it came out, they marketed it so well. They even made like missing posters, and like they put their like faces and names on like milk cartons, like, have you seen these people?
Oh yeah.
Making it super believable that something had actually happened to them. And you know, the way the film is shot, the way it's acted, it's made to look like found footage.
It was one of the first POV films that hit like you know, the cinemas.
And it made a lot of people, like probably a good majority of the people who went and saw the movie believe that it actually happened that way.
Well, so it came out, I just looked it up, came out in 1999.
Oh yeah, I would have been 5.
Yeah, I was 9 when it came out, and I remember it was a big thing so fourth, fifth grade. It was kind of like once I was in sixth grade, people were really talking about it because I think that's when it like got to the Blockbuster. Like you couldn't see it with your mom in the theaters, but you could have her rent it from Blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember it, and everyone, based on a true story. Can you believe this? Like, and I watched it, I think for the first time when I was in high school, I want to say.
Yeah.
And the end, have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, the ending.
We don't have to go into spoilers.
No, but the ending of it with that shot like that, I can still see that.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it, I was like, no way. Like, and the night, I mean, that's marketing though, and the internet wasn't like that big around that time, so I don't. It was hard, but probably not too hard. Because could you imagine trying to pull that stunt now?
Yeah. It definitely benefited from the time that it was released.
Right. And it was a good spot to do it too. I mean, that was like probably perfect timing for that thing.
You could probably do something equivalent to that nowadays, but yeah. I don't think it would have been as well regarded if it came out now as opposed to, when it actually did.
No, 100. I mean, it turned it. It got that style of movie going. That's why the paranormal stuff works, and
it set the precedence for a lot of what horror movies were after that.
Yeah, that's one of those copycat films you talk about.
Mm-hmm.
That comes out, and then everyone's like, "Hey, we could do this too." And it works.
Yeah. So I think that's a good time as any to transition.
Awesome.
Into our movie discussions. So you want to talk about Chopper first?
Yeah, we'll do Chopper, and we can end on the meat. I mean, the big one.
The big one.
Oh yeah,
the Big Fish.
Yeah,
not Big Fish by Tim Burton.
Whoa!
But,
shout out, check that one out too. That scared me as well.
I could see that.
No, I'm just
hey, it's Tim Burton. He's kind of creepy.
He is. It's the Corpse Bride. All right.
So yeah, Chopper was a 2000 film directed by Andrew Dominik, who also is known for making the film Killing Them Softly, starring Brad Pitt. This movie stars Eric Bana. Did you want to summarize it, or do you want me to?
I mean, I can. It's about Mark Reed, right?
A real person.
Yep, Mark Reed. He was an Australian. I don't want to say gangster, like criminal. Just leave it at criminal.
Yeah, thug is a good word. Wow.
Accurate, apt, I think they say. And it's essentially just it's a little bit of a dramatization of his life. I want to say, I can't remember. It's a biopic.
It's a very narratively structured, loosely based on real life.
Yeah,
biopic.
Yeah, that's a really good way of describing it. And I thought that it was. Yeah, I mean, listen, it just essentially goes from, it starts out with him in jail when he was a young man, and it kind of leads up to certain acts in his life towards, I don't even know when this took place, because the movie came out 2000, and I don't know if they said like
it was
late 80s. Early.
So he was in jail in like the 1970s, probably like mid 70s.
Yeah, because he got out in 86, I want to say. Or 88.
So then 10 years later, he gets out. So the movie's basically... The first, probably quarter of it follows him in jail. And then after that point, it skips ahead 10 years. Yep. And then you follow him when he's released, kind of living his life, always looking over his shoulder, always being paranoid with, the people that he's around and people that he would consider friends. Does he trust them? Can he not trust them anymore?
Yeah.
And then the actions that he took in jail, they kind of follow him and they haunt him in ways, but he's also still retained his personality of wanting to kind of make a name for himself in the worst way possible.
Oh, just an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't say that to his face, but
no. Well, I think he's dead now. I think the actual guy's dead.
Yeah.
Mark Brandon Chopper Reed.
Yes, there we go. I knew that there's a middle name in there.
Yeah,
because he got the alias or his nickname, and I was like, I remember they threw it up. That's how I knew the movie was real. So
they said his name quite a bit, like his legal name in the movie.
They did. I liked it. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's how I knew. So I know I recommended this to you 2 weeks ago, or second episode or third episode.
It was a month ago, because you recommended it, and then we had to do the A24 list.
Yeah,
because I didn't have time to watch it.
Yeah, so we did that, and Yeah, I had to find it on YouTube.
Yeah,
I had to go,
let's talk about how we had to try to find this movie.
Well, if you guys,
so Mac and I are U.S. based. We're Americans. We're red-blooded, patriotic Americans, just like everybody else. Besides people who don't live in the U.S. And this movie is Australian, and
it's like a indie Australian film.
It's pretty underground. I would say.
I'm not, and I wasn't trying to go with a hipster type pick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna I thought this was like a big, and it could have been, maybe it was a bigger movie in Australia because I haven't seen like a lot of Australian made films. So this might have been one of the production houses that's big over there.
Right.
But in terms of what we got, this would have been an Australian indie film.
But we ran into issues where we really couldn't find a good source to watch the movie. It wasn't on Amazon to rent. It wasn't on YouTube to rent. It wasn't on Google Play to rent. Not on Netflix. It wasn't even on my Canopy app, which generally has a lot of smaller foreign films.
Yeah.
And I had a heck of a time finding this movie, so I was forced to find means outside of the law, basically, to watch it.
You got like alternative means to go and get this thing. I mean, figure it out. We're talking a 21-year-old indie Australian film. Like honestly, I didn't realize that when I recommended this that it was gonna be like that.
It was a challenge just to find it.
So
and I don't know. It was kind of fun in a way, but not really, because I would have liked to watch it when I wanted to. But yeah, so we both ended up watching it. I ended up just finding it somewhere.
Yeah. You
found it on YouTube?
Yeah, if you guys want to watch it, it's titled Australian Action Chopper on YouTube.
Yeah.
What a classy, very generic title.
I don't even think any letters in that title are capitalized, right?
Nope.
It's all lowercase.
It is some dude just owned it, and he's like, I'm giving it to the world.
All
and
right.
In case anyone gets confused,
the people need this.
Go.
The people need Chopper to be released somehow.
And when I clicked on it though, and I was like, all right, is this the one? It's 90 minutes. It popped up, kind of a weird production, whatever it's called floats in there, and then it just says Mark Brandon Reed 1990 something, maybe 2000. I don't remember, because in the very beginning it says his name under him, and that's when I was like, oh, that's the guy.
Yeah.
So I went and I just let it go, and then Eric Bana popped up.
Yep.
And I was like, got the film. So that was and then I had to go. I'm trying to watch it, and I had to go. I wanted to put it on the TV. Can't remember. You just type in chat. They don't want you to watch it.
No.
That's the crazy thing. You go on to, usually you go on to YouTube or whatever. You can type in a title and say, I want to check this out. Can I rent it, or is it on here?
Right.
And this one wasn't even. It took me 6 minutes after I even knew what I was watching. So that was it. In terms of the movie.
Yeah, the movie itself.
You go ahead. I'm curious.
I enjoyed it.
You liked it.
I liked it. I thought it was, to me, significantly better than Killing Them Softly, which is odd because Killing Them Softly came out a decade and a half after.
Yeah.
This movie, it was very personal. I liked the fact that it followed him for all of it. It didn't deviate. It didn't jump around. It didn't feel as messy as Killing Them Softly.
Right.
I thought the character was consistent. I thought the acting was really good.
Same here.
Especially on Eric Bana's part. I thought he was very consistently good throughout
he was awesome.
the movie. There was one scene, though, that I was like, okay, is that really necessary?
Is it at the bar?
Yep.
Oh, my God. I was dying laughing.
Well, it kind of... All right, so I guess we'll go into a little bit of the spoilers for Chopper 2000. Check it out if you can find it. That scene where he's at the bar and he pulls his dick out.
Yeah.
That kind of took me out of it. Not because of what he did, but because I was just looking at it the whole time thinking, that is the fakest looking penis I've ever seen in my life.
Look at that. It's a prosthetic dick.
It's like, okay, I maybe he does. I don't know. I find it hard to believe that Eric Bana is packing a 12-incher when he's flaccid.
Yeah, that was like a 9-inch schlong, man. That a baby was gonna crawl out from under there.
Well, what I thought he was gonna do was I thought he was just gonna start peeing. I thought he was just
really?
I thought he was just gonna pee in front of that guy.
It's so funny. Like looks
But
over
no.
at the chick. One, I mean, it's a prostitute, right? And he just looks over at her and is like, "Hey, now's as good as time as ever. Just whip this thing out." And then he just sits there and he's like looking at her, joking with her about it. I was kind of laughing. I was like, actually. So I told you I don't. I kind of come out of movies like just whatever. But he does that, and I'm like, isn't that like public indecency? Like, shouldn't he be arrested?
Yeah.
And I know he's talking to the cops. And I was like, does that really grant him a pass? Like, isn't this against the law?
Yeah.
So I
like to think that is one of the things that they sort of narratively embellished for the sake of the movie.
Oh, they had that. Like, it's who he was. Like, that was the type of guy he was.
Yeah,
like,
showcase his personality.
Yeah, so why not,
At least they could have, at least commit, right? Be like Tom Hardy and Bronson. Actually show your penis.
Yeah. Come on, Eric Bana. What are you hiding from us? Yeah.
We won't judge you.
So, I mean, like, I thought that was funny. I thought, personally, for me, I really liked this character.
Mm-hmm.
So, I told you, and this is where I'm, I got to be smarter about the things I choose. I told you I'm not good with dialects and accents. Like,
I had to watch it with subtitles.
So you had the subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
I did the YouTube auto-generated.
Oh, no.
Oh, dude. Like,
you might as well just turn the volume off at that point. Make up your own story.
Like, and I don't want to say confused because I had a general idea, but like, like if he said like, oh, I'm a good jolly bloke. It would say like, I'm a good hello, I'm woke. And like, that's how I'd read it. And then I'm like, oh no. And then I'd look up and they're already onto the next sentence. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, I got to pick one or the other here. And then so if I didn't catch it, my mind would wander down. I'd read it and then pop back up. So there were always times I was missing bits and pieces of information because I couldn't understand what they were saying.
Did you have those subtitles on the whole time that?
So I had it on and I was like, I'll get close enough if I can make out what they're saying. I just got to, maybe they'll make up for what I'd miss, because I'd listen and then I'd dive down and try to catch up to it and pop back up and seeing like what's going on, and there were just times where it's like not even close. And then probably about 2/3 of the way through the film, it was like not like, I got to stop. They're not even there. Just act like they're not there and try to...
Yeah. I didn't have subtitles because I thought to myself, oh, they're Australian. They speak English. I'll be able to understand it.
Yep.
And then 5 minutes into the movie, when he's talking to his friend Jimmy in prison...
Loveline?
They're just talking to each other. I said to myself, okay, I have to put subtitles on because I don't understand half of what they're saying.
Yeah. And it's not...
It's so like... heavy accent,
it's so crazy
thick.
too, because like you're listening to them and you're like, God, like I'm like 85% the way there with what I'm hearing. It's just and they'll drop a word or a phrase in there that you just kind of miss. It just goes into like, hey, have a...
Like I had a better time with Train Spotting than I did this movie.
It's insane too. I can't. That still boggles my mind. But I had to turn it on. But like, I thought that to me the editing of the film was a little kind of bizarre.
Yeah, especially towards the end when they've got the different effects going on for like the cocaine scene when everything's sped up.
I actually liked that.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too.
There were a couple things that like that I thought was fun because the guy was trying to, you know what this is? This movie is like a low production of Bronson.
It very much reminded me of that. And I think even in the description of the movie that I read online, it said something along the lines of the UK has Bronson, America has this guy or whatever. Right. And then Australia has Mark Chopper Reed or whatever. Yeah. I'll look it up just to verify. I think it was on IMDb.
Yeah, but it was there were like that, the end scene or like towards the end of it, when they do the little rap or the little rhyme that's going on while they're talking about the sentencing for jail. I really appreciated that. That was kind of like a fun little play. Mm-hmm. But in terms of like kind of like what was happening, it's a really like, it's not over dramatized. I mean, it is, but like in terms of what a movie could have done, they kept it very, what I thought was real. You know,
Yeah.
like
It was very grounded.
Yeah, you know, and like obviously there's probably things that happen that probably wouldn't happen in the real world, but like nothing that was out of the like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, you know, for me getting taken out of it was no. I guess when I say like the editing, so the movie literally starts out with him in jail.
Yeah,
and he's watching his, you know,
he's watching his TV interview.
Yeah, right, and that's how it starts
This
out.
This is much later into the timeline of the movie.
No.
Because he starts out in jail, but then it cuts to him in jail earlier.
That's what I'm saying. So it cuts to him in jail earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if they did the 10 years earlier or whatever, because all of a sudden I'm watching him and it's just him again. And it's just like, you can tell he's younger.
Yeah.
And maybe they were just going like, we're not going to spoon feed you this.
I think, yeah, that's probably what they were going for. Because
then it goes from that's a 15, 20-minute little segment sequence that's going on, and then he's out.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so not going to lie, I completely forgot about the beginning of this thing. I was just like, oh, maybe this is him watching his life or whatever. Like, and then by the end of it, you know, they kind of do a full circle. So that's what I'm saying. That kind of took me out of it. For me, distinguishing time where it was at was a little hard. You know, like kind of he gets out and then all of a sudden like series of events are happening. Like at one point he's just talking to the cops. That was another, like, how did that happen? Like,
I was a little confused by like why he was working with the police exactly.
Same here.
And why the police were working with him.
Yeah, that's
knowing who he was.
All of a sudden he's just talking, like he's doing a POV shot talking, and then they show another guy sitting across from him. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I don't even know if they might have, because I don't understand some of the things that were being discussed. Since I understand, just didn't know what they were saying. They might have said something along the lines, but like after like a couple minutes where he walks out, you kind of pick up on, oh yeah, those are the cops, you know. But I don't think it ever really dived into that. So that's what took me out of it, was just some of the time hopping, events going on, and just being a little lost of where we're at in his life. But dude, did you laugh? Like, did you laugh a couple times?
I was there was a few times where I was like, this guy is like so absurd.
Oh my God, thank you.
That I couldn't just help but laugh. Kind of like how Bronson was in a way.
Yeah, he was a little bit more like, so Bronson was like a little bit more psychotic.
Yeah.
Like his genuine, him being genuine was it was a very off-putting genuine. Mm-hmm. Whereas like
this guy's more of like he's more like a bully. You know?
Dude, but it was almost like a caring bully.
Kinda.
Like I was dying laughing. Like he would just beat the shit out of someone. Like, get real mad, right? Mm-hmm. Do it. And then after it's done, be like, oh, God, I'm so sorry. Like, you okay?
Well,
like,
I noticed that, too, and I jotted it down in my notes, is that, like, almost every single time he does something like that, he's remorseful in some way, or he manages to shift the blame onto another person.
That's what it was
like an abuser does.
Dude, like, you made me do this.
Yeah.
You made me do this.
You made me do this, or he'll just, like, break down and say, like, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? And he'll, like, try to offer them a cigarette. It's like, dude, you just bashed his face in. He's not going to want a cigarette from you. Oh, my God.
I was dying. Like, that really made me die. Every time that happened, I think by the third of the way through the film, I was really just cracking up every time that those events happen.
Well, because then there's the scene where he's with his girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
And like he follows her into her house and she like lives with her mom.
Oh yeah.
And he's just basically beating her up, and he just like shifts the blame onto them. It's like, look what you made me do.
He goes
it's like, all right.
He hits her, right? And then the mom comes in, he hits the mom.
He headbutts the mom.
Yeah. And then he's like, get out of here or whatever. And then he looks back at her and he goes, you see that? You see what you just made me do? Like, I hit mom because of you. And I was like, this dude is...
Goodness.
I mean, I shouldn't be laughing at that. Obviously, we don't condone any sort of domestic violence. But I thought it was funny, like, his actions, how after they went on. Because normally, like, if you're mad and you do that, like, you steam out. You go, F you, F this, and just steam out. Mm-hmm. Like, the fact that he'd sit down and would be like, now you see what's going on here, you see what's happening, like, and just either get like really apologetic or be like shift it 100% to you made me do this.
It's a good showcase as to the type of person he is.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm. I really liked his shirt for some reason when he was talking to the cops. His like sweater with the koala on it.
Oh,
I liked that a lot.
There we go. There's some merch for the Neon Crew podcast.
Yeah, that crew neck sweater that he has on.
I'm not
It's
gonna
pretty
lie.
comfy looking.
When he gets out of jail and he's got like the black pants on with like the floral, dress shirt.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, that's a look.
Uh-huh.
I was like, I like that. That's a look.
His dad says, "Nice shirt." He's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "No, nice shirt."
What'd your boyfriend get it for you?
Yeah. It's just something like that. His dad was man, you could see why he was the person he was with the kind of person his dad is.
It's so that dude, and he's only in it for all of 2 minutes, right?
It's like 2 scenes that he's in.
Literally I had the same thought, and the other thing too was like that guy nailed it for being like pissed off at life, just make a joke of everything. I'm where I'm at now. Like whatever. I'm just gonna get through the next day. But he wasn't like, what'd I tell you, boy? What'd I tell you? Like sit down, get over it. He wasn't like that. He was just ripping Mark Reed the whole time. You could tell like he really didn't take anything seriously just because of his lot in life. It was just like, I'll just get drunk and have fun.
Yeah, he passed that non-caring attitude down to his son.
100%, because they made the joke
100%.
about the mom. Like, what'd your mom say? Like, oh yeah, she was gonna visit me or whatever, and then she show up. It's like I haven't seen her for 8 years still, or whatever they do. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I get it now.
There's a weird sort of dynamic. Why do you think they had him be so adamant about not taking that guy to the hospital? He kept saying, I didn't take him to the hospital.
Neville?
Well, yeah. The guy that he shot in the stomach or whatever.
Oh, because he had intentions of going in there to kill him.
Yeah, but then you see the scene where he's like driving him off to presumably the hospital.
I think it was more of like a...
Was it an implied thing that he like took him out to like a desert or something and then
I don't know,
shot him
I don't
out
know
there?
if Neville ever got... Whatever happened from that.
Because I thought that... Because wasn't Jimmy... like
talking to him about it.
Yeah, Jimmy was talking to Neville on the phone, so Neville's alive, clearly.
So what I kind of took from all that was, and all of the stuff that was going on, was that he had a reputation somewhat built up around him, and I think he had a little bit more of a, I think he was a little bit more I shouldn't say grounded. He was a little bit more in tune with his emotions than Bronson. So I think he understands that he does get upset.
Yeah.
And it's just after the fact. Whereas Bronson, if you watch Bronson, his actions, he doesn't have any sort of remorse or care or like think about it. Like what's done is done. You piss me off. Here it is. Whereas Mark Reed,
it's
Chopper,
it's very much like the mind of an abuser.
Yeah, where it's like I can't help myself. I'm really sorry. Like, and it's just constant, right? You see it consistently. And I think what happened was because he shot him out of anger and rage, was remorseful about it, was like, I do need to help this guy. And maybe he did take him to the hospital, but his reputation as a person couldn't handle, like the ego couldn't handle that. Because if someone says, hey man, like I heard you took Neville there, and he goes, no, I didn't. And the guy's like, well, that's not what I heard. Like he'd have to beat the shit out of that guy.
Right.
That's
a good assessment. I didn't catch it.
Well, they
like
had
that.
the thing. It was funny because like he shoots him. The guy's like, we need to get him there. He's like, why the fuck would I take him to the hospital? I just shot him. And then he meets up with the cops who are asking him about it. And he says the same thing to them. It's like, I went in there to shoot him. I shot him. Why would I take him to the hospital?
Right.
Like, in what world does that make sense? But after like knowing what he does, I could 100% see him being like, dude, in the beginning when he does the thing to that guy, he's like, oh shit, like let's get you over to the the doctor. I can't even think of the word for it.
The clinic.
Yeah, whatever it is in the jail. Like, I'm sorry, like come on, like let's Oh man,
here's a cigarette.
Yeah, that was funny. That I had to laugh about. He's like sitting there, he's just like leaning over, he's talking to the guy, like this guy is in pain, is bleeding out, and he's just like having a conversation with him.
That's also something that I kind of wanted to bring up too.
What?
In relation to that specific aspect.
Yeah.
The practical effects in this movie are pretty good as far as it being a movie from the 2000s, because it ages pretty well when it uses practical effects like that, and it doesn't have to use a whole lot.
I was just about to say they didn't get crazy with it, but
but it helps the movie age better, I would say.
Yes, it doesn't. I mean,
it keeps it that sort of like grounded, kind of like really grimy, scummy look.
Yeah,
that it goes for.
Yeah,
the grittiness of it, and really the only bad special effect I thought was the fake penis,
the prosthetic dick that
Mm-hmm.
I'm still waiting for Vanna to DM me about it. I need to know. All right, so if you got Vanna on Twitter,
well, I gave you the control of the Twitter, so that's on you.
I don't know if I want Neon Cruz. And maybe it's just like it's a me thing. Like, come on, like I gotta. Like, come on, Vanna.
Use your personal account, Mac, not the business account. Come on.
So I mean, I did too. What'd you think about it? What'd you think about when he got stabbed? How crazy was that?
That was probably my favorite scene in the movie. I really liked that scene because you see on his face you get immediately the type of person that he is in that scene because he's betrayed, right? He's betrayed by his cellmates, his friends in jail, and they go to kill him because they want the bounty, and also because he's kind of nuts.
Yep.
They stab him, and he like you don't even really know that he's stabbed until like things go quiet, and he just looks down, and he has this sort of lost puppy dog look on him, like you just betrayed me. The fact that like you don't even see an ounce of pain in his face until like much later in the scene.
Well, the pain on his face is emotional, not like physical.
Yeah, no, you don't. Yeah, it's purely just an emotional thing for him in that moment because to him it's like. Yeah, any normal person, they get stabbed, they're like, I got stabbed, and then they like crouch over, and he gets stabbed like 10 times, and he's still just standing there looking at them like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
why are you doing this to me? And he's so calm about it, which makes it even more eerie. It makes him even creepier.
It was like, man, they're really building this guy to be up like a superhero. Like he's that Thanos here.
Mm-hmm.
Like. I was curious about that because I saw that. I was like, man, this guy's a hard ass. I was like, and he's just taking this, and he's like more hurt about his friends than the actual knife going in.
Right. And I'm assuming in that moment that it was sort of like an adrenaline thing that was going through him. Maybe he probably hadn't felt the excruciating pain yet.
Yeah.
That he probably would have later.
Well, I mean, yes, 100%. It's kind of funny, when you're like, hey, why don't you stab me in the back or take the knife out of my back? Like, he's actually going through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why don't you stab me in the kidneys if you're talking about doing that? Okay.
He stabs him 10 times, and then he goes up to him and he goes, come on, give me the knife, Jim. Give me the knife. And he just he hugs him and he just gives him the knife.
Come on, mate. Thought we were closer than that.
Yeah. But then I think he stabs him a couple more times.
Oh, he does. He tagged him he hits him twice. The first time he hits him, everyone's kind of like, what just happened?
Yeah. And then you're not exactly sure. They're just standing there looking at him, and he's like, why are you guys looking at me like that?
And the guy's like, I just fucking stabbed this dude. And then he hits him the second time, and that's when he's like, oh my God, they're trying to kill me. Hey, what happened? It's not like begging for his life or please stop or scared of anything. He is so hurt by his friends in that moment where it's just like, you just got tagged 6 times, dude. And he's still Jimmy, mate.
He's stuck on that sort of denial phase.
Yeah, I thought we were good blokes, mate.
Yeah. Bluey, why are you crying?
Oh my God, that was a really fun scene.
The acting in that scene was really good.
Now that we're talking, I definitely would give this thing I think this would be a oh my God, it's a 6 or a 7 out of 10 because I don't know how long it's gonna stick with me. What happened in the guy's character, I'm more in. I don't know. I take that back because I don't even think when I think about it, I don't even think about the events. I'm just thinking about Eric, Mark Brandon Reed Chopper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever. Just kind of his person, who he was as a person. Because it's kind of funny talking about some of the shit that was going on, and they don't, like I said, I don't think they over dramatize it too much.
No, and yeah, I would probably give the movie an 8 out of 10.
8, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And really, my only gripes with it were, like you said, some of the editing was a little interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And my main gripe with it was, I think it should have been longer. I think it should have. I think it should have spent more time developing him as a character, because really the movie was only 90 minutes, and I think we could have benefited from seeing more aspects of his life like playing out, maybe like before the events of the jail, or like after his TV
dad?
special.
Maybe like a dad scene when he's like 10, where he's like daydreaming about like a certain event that happened in his life that kind of shows you like this is how he grew up.
Yeah, something along those lines. I think we could have benefited from getting to know him a little bit more.
Bana just being Eric Bana and the thing. He was really. I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, and I do like where it ended. I think the ending itself was a good spot to stop, because you really get that sense that he's just a really lonely dude, because that TV special ends, right? And he's, chatting with the cops in his cell like, hey, look at me, I'm on TV.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, he's like, well, that's it. That's all they got. And, it's a quick TV time slot that he's in. And they're like, all right, Chopper, we gotta end our shifts. Yeah, we gotta go do our jobs. And then they're like, we gotta close this. And he's like, all right. And then they close it, and you see him sitting in there by himself, just sort of contemplating for a bit. And I really like that they included that scene, because you get this sense of just how lonely he is because of the type of person that he is.
Yeah.
He drives people away. He's an abuser,
for
basically.
Sure. 100%.
And despite the fact that he had gained this reputation and sort of gotten what he wanted, making a name for himself, it doesn't really mean a whole lot if everybody that you knew and cared about was pushed away because of you.
It's funny too, because now that I guess kind of with some of the scenes like building up to that, now that I think about it, like the courtroom and whatnot, all the cameras, the flash, the publicity, him. Now that you think about it, that was the peak of his celebrity. Mm-hmm. Being in the names of everyone in Australia that was it, and that he achieved where he wanted to go, and then but then you like you're saying though, you get to the end of it, and then you just see him. That door shuts, and it's just him, and he's just like, oh, yeah, this
is my life now.
This is it.
Mm-hmm.
I did like it too though with the cops, that like you talk about like he's supposed to be Australia's most wanted criminal or whatever. He's watching a TV special with two guys that have to take care of him for security purposes, and they're hamming it up.
Yeah.
And at the very end of it, they don't even guys in authority. It's like, all right, shut the door, clang. Hey, gotta go, Mark. We're gonna shut the door now, Dad.
Yeah.
You be a good dope. See it. And like shuts the door. Like it's crazy how he could impact, personality wise, impact those lives of people that are like, I'll get fired if he escapes. He could kill me right now. Hey, man, you want to watch a TV special and hang out in your cell?
Yeah, let's be on his good side.
Yeah. So I don't even think that so that's cool though. 8 out of 10. So you liked it. That's awesome.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it significantly more than Killing Them Softly, which maybe we'll talk about one day.
Yeah, maybe. If we get on Ben Mendelsohn kick. All right. Yeah. So Chopper, Australian Chopper, if you want to watch it. Australian Action Chopper, I think is what
on YouTube.
On the streaming service of YouTube. Actually, for free.
Otherwise, if you have a VPN, you could probably find a better quality version of it.
100%.
Now I guess is a good a time as any to transition into our next movie discussion.
I'm curious.
Yesterday, you and I watched Dune, directed by Denis Villeneuve, starring Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Javier Bardem, Josh Brolin, and Oscar Isaac.
You could keep going.
I could keep going, but
there were so many
there's a lot of big names in that movie.
Oh my god.
A lot of big heads on the poster that I see everywhere.
Insane character list for ensemble casting, just like a who's who.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the guys in it, before we even get into it too. Actually, you go into it too, because I'm sure we'll hop in.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say. So you watched it at home.
I did,
because they released it for streaming the day before it was coming out to theaters.
One of the two. I don't know if it went theaters to streaming or streaming to theaters.
It went from streaming to theaters.
Okay.
So one day, I think on Thursday it went to streaming, and then Friday it came out, or Thursday night or whatever. But you saw it at home. I saw it at the IMAX. big screen, big speakers, the whole works. As big of a theater experience as you can get without the 3D glasses,
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm curious to like get your viewpoint on it. If you like the fact that you watched it at home, or if you had wished you had watched it in theater, knowing how the movie is and like after watching it.
So for me there's a lot of people that want to go to the theaters. I think this would be, I'll just say this movie would be phenomenal to watch in theaters. Right?
Okay.
I honestly think like if you were to watch this film, I would recommend go to the theater as opposed to sit at home. Now I'm happy for this one I sat at home.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe other movies I'd be like, dang, I really wish I saw that in theaters. This one was like a happy I saw that here.
Okay.
I personally just, going forward, like I'm not a big, like I need to see that in theaters versus I need to see that on if I can watch it at the house, I'll watch it at the house. Like I can visualize and see like, all right, I could imagine this on this aspect or this, on the big screen, like with the sound pumping, like it's awesome. There are movies that are generated for that experience. Mm-hmm. I think this being one of them where you actually feel like you're in that world, but I'm cool either way if I watch it at home or not. Like,
okay.
So I'm sure you like watching it in the theater.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta imagine
it was a great theater experience, and it was great too because we went to the IMAX in Grand Rapids, and it was. I mean, we had to buy our tickets like a week and a half, 2 weeks in advance, basically.
Yeah.
And by the time we got there, besides like the very, very, very front row, every seat was sold out and taken. And
Nice.
It's like it wasn't one of those things where like you go there and you're like, okay, every seat is like sold out, but there's always like a few people who like they don't make it in time, or like there might be a few seats that are open. No, pretty much every single seat was filled.
Sure, that reminds like I like when I went and saw The Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Rises. That reminds me of standing in line. You get in there, you sit down, and it's not like filling out as the credits are starting. Like it is, everyone's in the seat ready to go when the movie, like the trailers roll.
Yep. And we got there pretty early, so we were like some of the first people in.
Yeah.
So we didn't have any issues like circumnavigating, bodies to get to where we needed to go. But big screen, giant screen. The sound, me personally, and I know Gideon felt the same way when we went and saw it, we enjoyed the fact that it was really loud and really just like kind of in your face, in your ears sound effects.
Yeah.
During the movie. I could easily see how most, if not like a good majority of people wouldn't like that. If you're like really sensitive to sound and like how much you can take from a movie, if you want the theater experience, maybe don't go to the IMAX because they crank that up.
Sure.
They crank it up big time.
400 megahertz.
And maybe just go and see it in a normal theater or something. They definitely have it like turned down compared to an IMAX. They like immerse you into it. But I like the fact that it was really like kind of in your face. And
I mean, you get a feel. You feel like you're standing next to Paul. The character Timothée.
You're standing
Chalamet.
next to Timothée Chalamet's defined cheekbones.
Oh my god! Yeah. Yes.
But yeah. Okay. So we can go into the movie itself. What did you think, Mac?
So I'm not gonna try to like deter people from saying this, but like, I was so bored throughout this thing.
Really? Okay.
So
was it throughout the whole thing, or was it just like the first 20 minutes though?
Throughout the whole thing.
Okay.
So like I'm
very curious to hear.
Did you read
reasonings.
The books?
I read the first book years ago.
Okay.
Right. And I've forgotten a lot of what happens, but as it was coming on screen, I could remember like, oh, I remember this from the book. And, just me answering, I think what you're about to ask me right now, they stayed pretty true to what happens.
in the book.
Yes.
That wasn't what I was. I know they do because like watching this thing, I was like, I read Lord of the Rings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they stay pretty close to it. There are events that they take out to trim it down.
Right.
Right. So when this thing kicks on, it says part 1.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea this was a part 1.
Yeah.
I just see Dune every time. Like I had no clue. I don't know if they saved that or people did know and I just was on the outside of this information.
I think if you were following it, you knew. But if you were just like kind of what you were doing, sort of like, I'm going to see it when I see it, you had absolutely no indication.
So that might have helped me out a little bit.
Okay.
There is, I thought it was super melodramatic. Like, like absurdly melodramatic. So my brother made, like, we went, have you ever seen The King's Speech? Like, I'm just going to tie this in.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we watched The King's Speech, and I liked The King's Speech. I thought it was a cool story. My brother didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I don't need to see, like, a rich white dude have to overcome a speech impediment, you know, to deliver. Like, he's like, I understand the significance of it, and I think that's awesome personally for him because I don't need to watch. Like, I don't need to watch it. You know, I'm really glad he overcame this, but that doesn't really excite me, right? And watching Dune and going through this kind of little bit of a hero's journey with this dude, like, I just realized I never made an emotional connection with him at any point in the film.
Okay.
You know, and the way that they had everything set up, which is, it's not to say like you can see it coming, but the way they had it set up, I've already did the math when it's getting to certain points. So that's maybe why, too, I didn't have some of the feelings that he had with what was going on. I love the music and the cinematography. Like, this is a thing to behold. Like, you feel like you're on that planet with them. Like, I like you could be watching this and be like, where did they shoot this at? You know?
Right.
But maybe some of the I don't know, maybe some of the bigger messages that they're trying to say, the metaphors, maybe the analogy they're using or whatever this is tying into, it might be over my head. But I constantly was trying to figure out, like, all right, to me, what does this all represent? Like, what is this closest to? Why did this guy write it like this? What event in life is he trying to depict? You know, so that's why I was curious about your take on it, honestly, because I was like, Kyle's going to take a lot more out of this movie than I did.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, dude, you're a writer. So, I mean, I got to imagine that you have your artistic, you know, capabilities. Like, you're watching this thing and you're going like, all right, because I figured you read this book or that you at least know about it and maybe like what it was about. And then you can take your own kind of, this happens, this is the message, this is what they're saying, this is what this relates to. Because I was trying to do that, and I'll tell you kind of like once we get going, what I essentially was just like, this is what I had to imagine. This is why this guy wrote it. But wait, when did he write the book too? Do you know?
It was in the 60s,
60s,
something like that. Let me verify.
Okay.
I'll look up Dune novel.
So that's how I felt about it. I thought it was just super melodramatic, like
1965.
65. Okay, because like man, dude, I was looking at my clock the whole time. Like I'd look down and be like, where are we at now? And I'm just like, you know, you break it down. At the beginning, they throw so much stuff at you. Like I honestly, they're like, some of this is just fluff, and some of this is you need to know.
Yeah.
Right. And then as you go along, you can break it down and just say, all right, these are the pieces of information, names I need to remember. You know, this is what's going to play a critical part in this going forward. Some of this other stuff is just in this world, and I can't learn this whole world in 10 minutes. So I understand why you did a part one, too. Like, I get that. I don't know if there's going to be like 3 parts to this thing.
I think I've heard different things. I've heard there's going to be 1 more movie after. I heard there's going to be 2 more movies after.
Okay. I honestly don't know. I don't know. This was 1.
Yeah. I think I'm kind of inclined to go towards 3 movies total, because the way that the book is set up, it's in like 3 acts. And I think where the movie ends, by the way, we're going to get into spoilers for Dune. So if you haven't seen Dune, check it out. Where it ends, is where like the first act ends.
Yeah.
In the book.
I could see that 100%. That's
Also,
kind of how it felt too.
We could probably we should probably like summarize the movie, I guess, for people who might be interested in hearing what it's about before we talk about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't do the best you can.
Okay. Dune is a sci-fi movie about this character named Paul Atreides, who is the son of a I don't know what's the title.
A house lord. He's
house
the governor
lord.
He's the governor of a house, so essentially he has his own planet.
Yeah,
like
it's basically like a galactic royal family.
Yes,
basically.
Yeah, they're one of the 9 heads or whatever. I mean, not to say that the's only 9, but he's a house, which is a huge deal.
He's part of House Atreides. He's like the son of the Duke, and the Duke is tasked to basically take over spice production on this planet called Arrakis, or they nickname it Dune, and they go to the planet, and essentially the movie is about them trying to defend themselves from treachery from the empire that they're a part of, a rival house, and also coinciding with the fact that Paul is dealing with attributes of like going towards basically becoming a prophet, becoming a messiah in a way.
Yeah.
And
he's becoming Jesus.
Yeah, pretty much. And so the movie's about him having to deal with like that political aspect of it while also that sort of religious aspect of it. And it kind of deals with how it works out if they butt heads in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's as good of a summary as I can probably give it without giving too much away.
No, that's good. I mean, it's the dad has plans for him and the mom has plans for him.
Yep.
And it's essentially him learning who he is and where he fits at in this galactic universe, and so as you can just saying all that out loud, like that's where if you don't get that emotional connection and care where the tear's at and the riff's at and how he's feeling, this is like 2.5 hours of just watching this kid. And he's not personable. He's not really funny. He really doesn't do much besides like everything he's going through in life is serious. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's hard to have fun in this film. There's a couple like, is it Moa or Momoa?
Jason Momoa?
Duncan, Idaho. Duncan, Idaho. I mean, I was like, he was fun. He was cool. Mm-hmm. I liked his character. But yeah, man, Paul was just like,
I wonder how much of that has to do with the character's writing and how much of it has to do with Timothée Chalamet as an actor, because I've kind of noticed this with a few of the roles that he's taken. Having watched The King and having watched Lady Bird and now this movie, I wouldn't necessarily use the word typecast, but he definitely has a knack for playing characters that don't show that much emotion, that sort of are in the scene to be that sort of like kind of moody character. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think it portrays Paul Atreides well. I think he was a good choice for the character
for sure
overall. Because when you think about it, you have to think about the fact that Paul was basically born into the position that he is, and you think to yourself, okay, he's part of royalty, he's got it so easy. There are many things in his life that were basically handed to him, but then you have to think about the implications of the fact that, okay, his mother has been basically raising him to be a Bene Gesserit, which, in the movie, a Bene Gesserit is basically a prophet that assists the emperor in some sort of way politically, to kind of like see in the future and like see where things go. And so
keep the emperor's rule.
Yeah,
like they want to make sure this doesn't turn into Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. And so he's got to deal with that pressure of like being raised this way, so that now he has like these abilities that, I don't know. It's like him dealing with like two different ropes being pulled at the same time.
I mean, like you nailed it on the head. You got the religious aspect of it, Bene Gesserit, where his mom's using him for the emperor.
And then you've got the political aspect of it from his dad, who wants him to be the next in line of House Atreides. You know, he is the next in line.
Leaders,
I should say.
leaders don't think they're leaders. It's when actions or things are requested of them or for them to step up is when they truly show they are leaders. It's kind of like what he said. So I mean, like,
so he's got this like immense amount of pressure on him, and he's just a kid, you know. I mean, I think Timothée Chalamet is like in his 20s or something, but I think in the
like
book
15
he's supposed
16.
to be 15. Yeah.
Yeah, I know he's supposed to be a teenager in this. See, now I'm not knocking that. Like that, I get that. I guess my problem is like I get that, and this like it just doesn't appeal to me because like I don't need to watch it 2.5 hours of being with a guy and trying like feeling how he's feeling. Like you're going one way or the other. And the problem that I have with it too is that they do so much of the visions in his head and his mind, and you they're really leading you to this is what he's probably leaning towards, and then the whole dad aspect of it is just there. So that's maybe another reason why I didn't care as much, because I'm like, this really doesn't feel like he's making this choice. It feels like one of them he's walking into while the other one is just pulling at him. But dude, he loved his dad. Like, so the riff is just a choice between him. Maybe it's like, do I keep the house name or do I become something that I'm not sure I can do?
Yeah.
Maybe, and it's 2.5 hours of that. And I'm like, I don't
know. I didn't mind it. You know, to me, it was like, I don't know. I kind of knew from hearing that Denis Villeneuve was going to direct it was going to be kind of a slower burn because it's sort of what he's known for. And knowing what Dune was and knowing the kind of story that it is, I think it sort of helped me appreciate and enjoy different aspects of it a little more. Because I heard the same exact things that people in the theater were saying,
right,
that you're saying. How it was like kind of boring, how it just sort of like felt like meandering a lot of the times.
Yeah.
But to me, it was sort of, you know, and this is something that we'll have to judge with the other movies that come out. Hopefully they come out.
Yeah, we'll find.
Because this movie being successful is dependent on whether or not we get more of them. So,
yes, 100%. Because this could it'd be a good setup for, you know, a second and potentially third one.
Yeah. So this movie is heavily dependent on the movies that potentially come out after it. And it's hard to judge it as like a standalone thing because it's not a standalone thing. It's very much supposed to be this grand sort of like epic scale thing that's just like the first part.
Oh, dude, like this felt like they were setting up. I'm trying to think. Like they have to set up a whole new universe, galaxy. Like you're talking like a lot happening just right off like that. So I 100% agree with you on that too. Because I'm not gonna say like if the second one comes out, like I'm not gonna be like I'm not watching that. Like I have to check it out because I understand. Like to me, this feels like Dungeons and Dragons. Like you're literally like setting up a whole story as you go along. And I think the only reason why I have a gripe with it is that this is made at this level. But it feels like it was only really made for the people that have read the book or kind of know where it's going. And I could be like way off, or I could be like already judging it way too soon because the second movie could come out, it could be a banger. Like be like, oh my God. Like I just need a little bit more events happening, I suppose. I mean, it's a slow burn and it's very like driven.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like we're going to do this and we're going to go through these actions and they're going to lead us to this point. Like, and you're going to see all of it.
I'm curious. What did you think of the attack scene?
The what?
The attack scene, the like big siege.
It was just like whatever.
Really? I was super enthralled during that whole thing. I mean, maybe it was because I saw it in theaters too, but because like all the big sounds are going on and like the special effects are great. The music's killer.
Telling you, the visual and the soundtrack side of it. Like I'm not lying. Like I told you, this is a movie. If I could see it in theaters, like I probably would see just like if they had if it engaged me more. The reason why I was happy as I watched at home is because like I could get up, stand up, like I could go get some water or get like something to eat, you know, and not have to like sit there and be like, all right, like what's going on next, you know?
Mm-hmm.
No, the attack scene was all right to me just because I don't know, just kind of knowing where it's going. There was no stakes involved.
Okay.
That's the other reason too, is I never felt like
interesting.
House
I
Atreides.
I have like a very opposite feeling that you do.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, as a moviegoer. Now, see, you have to be immersed in that world. So I think for you, knowing what's going on and being a little bit more inclined to the stakes involved, you know, and being able to say in your head, like, man, could you imagine being in this other galaxy?
Mm-hmm.
You can put yourself in that position of, you know, like, oh my God, like the weight, the pressure, setting stuff up. For me, as you know, just the moviegoer, I was like, all right, like this kid's gonna be. I'm not gonna lie, like as soon as like the vision started coming out, I was like, all right, he's gonna become the Messiah, you know. And then all of a sudden they go to the House Atreides goes to Dune, and that's when I was kind of like, all right, this is kind of cool. Like, what's gonna happen here, you know? And then the Harkonnens, right? The Harkonnens are still there, and then they kind of give away like the Emperor set this up, so we got to take him out. I'm like, there they go. So now the whole house is getting destroyed. The kid's gonna become the Messiah. Like, awesome. Like, and then it's just, and that's how it just falls in. You know, there wasn't any sort of plot twist. There wasn't any sort of point where you think that it's gonna deviate from where he's going on this path.
Oh, the doctor was a bit of a twist, I would say.
Yeah,
you know, the doctor betraying them. Even though he's not that.
Well, they said there's a spy. Like, I didn't know who it was. They just go, there's a spy in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So like you knew, and it's funny too because he at that point he wasn't even the spy.
Right.
But they had already set it up to, in my head, someone was going to do something bad because they said there's a spy in the house. So there was a little bit of foreshadowing there. So I already like knew like something's going to happen. So like when the thing to the dad happened and it ends up being him, I was like, oh man. But then they come back and they're like, but you're going to do this now. And like, I was like, even that was cool. And now it's not cool. Like they're still, I mean, they're just, you know, it's big scale politics.
Yeah. And there were some scenes, I guess, where like it did feel like they were over explaining. Like when he's putting the tooth in, when he says to him, like, this is a poison tooth. If you bite down into it when you're in the same room as the Baron Harkonnen, you can take him out as well as yourself. And it's like, okay, we could have maybe gathered that without you directly like saying it to us.
How about
just show it to us? You know, that probably would have helped a little bit more. But I get what you're saying about that. And then the shield. The shield, I feel like they should have explained a little more. I feel like you click it, it comes on. I just thought like you're telling about over explaining. Mm-hmm.
There's a point they throw it on there, he hits himself, it goes blue, right? And then he hits his hand, it goes red, right? And I'm like, okay, so red's bad, blue's good. Obviously, this thing can get through the shield. There's probably certain like spots.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I had a harder time like grasping the shield, and I read the effing book.
I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like one of the like Inception. You know, like, hey, we're gonna throw this drug on. We're gonna go and attack people in their dreams. Like,
yeah,
that's about as much as I need. You know, so the shield. I mean, the guy clicks it. I just thought it was funny because he does it goes blue, right, and then it goes red. I don't know where it was like soft at because obviously there's points of penetration in the shield, but I just saw that and I was like, well, my first thought was like, all right, red's bad, blue's good, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, and then they're fighting and he hits him and he gets him up here and he's like, now that's a kill stroke. You can see that I penetrated the shield. And I was like, yeah, because it's red, man. Like, I get it, you know, but I wish they would have said like, they would have did the diagram of, you know, hey, we're going to battle. This is where we're soft at, you know.
Maybe don't like explain it with words, but just, I don't know, just more action, I guess. Just have it like emphasized more through visuals.
Well, that's what I thought they were trying to do with that fight scene at the beginning when they were hitting each other, you know, him and Brolin.
Yeah, I just, you know, maybe a little bit more of that, you know?
Sure. And there's a whole shit ton of it.
Instead of Duncan Idaho saying what he said.
What did he say?
This is it. Or no, not Duncan Idaho. Gurney. Yeah, Josh Brolin.
Yeah, Gurney.
When he's like, this is a kill stroke.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, we know. We can see.
Yeah, like that's, there were times like that. But the other aspect you have with it too is like they introduced like 4 different houses, 3 different things. Like even the Fremen, the Harkonnen, and the beginning of Dune when the Harkonnen come in, they drive out the Fremen. But there was another battle. The Harkonnen took over someone. You know, I mean, it was just, and it's really just the Harkonnen are bad guys. Like they're here to stay. Mm-hmm. That's all they were doing. But that's why I was saying they stay true to the book because I think they used a lot of that information from the book. So that people that were really, I mean, big onto it, this was made in what, 1986? The other one, somewhere in there.
Oh, the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 1986 by David Lynch.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I think that one, and I'll have to watch, but I'm guessing they made that for generic audiences.
That movie, they compacted the whole book into one movie.
Yeah.
Which, you know, if you've ever watched the last Airbender movie, you know that can't go well. And the funny thing is too, you hurt 2 people because you hurt the people like me that are watching it that are like, what the hell's going on? This is such a dumb movie. Like they made this off a book. And then you get the people that read the book and they're like, what the hell, man? Like you took out so much stuff from the book. You skipped so much.
Yeah. Now I can see why people were freaked out about Lord of the Rings being one movie. At least it was 3 hours.
Yeah. At least it was 3 movies.
So
in the end.
So I mean, like, so you like this?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was very enjoyable, and I think I can easily see how someone who hasn't read the book, or at least who doesn't know like the story of Dune, I could see how someone wouldn't enjoy a lot of aspects of this movie because it is very reliant on setting up for the next acts of the novel.
I mean, this is like literally a exposition movie.
And I think people who know what's coming can sort of retroactively look back at this movie and think to themselves, "Oh man, this movie is going to be so good because this stuff is going to happen."
See, and that's where I'm at. I'm with you 100% because I don't, as a standalone movie, I thought this was like melodramatic as shit and meandering. Like I can't tell you how, like, I was just like, I do not care about this dude whatsoever. Like I'm great just because I know it's like I know where you're going, dude. And maybe he doesn't go there, which would be sweet in the second film. There might be a lot more of the political side with the Emperor, the Baron, his choices, the Fremen, but like for this one with how much exposition was involved and setting up for that next one, it's like if you do that, in my opinion, if you do that, you have to make this one at least fun a little bit, personable a little bit, something where the moviegoer, like me, can at least like be like, oh man, like like that is tough, or this is happening. Like it felt just like a soap opera for 2.5 hours, like So I'm gonna say this: I'm gonna watch the second one. It's not like that this thing turned me off from the like I'm done with it. I'm just hoping that it carries enough weight for the next one to come out, or like the cinema's not going to be like, like we can't do this because I don't know how many people are going to go back in theaters and watch this one again. Do you think that there would be a second viewing from a lot of people? I
don't know. I don't know about a lot. I feel like people would go back and see this. I mean, I kind of get the feeling of like people saying, okay, the first 30 minutes were slow, right? I can definitely see where people would get that because it's a lot of build up, it's a lot of exposition, it's a lot of like getting to know the political side of things and the like background of like the different characters that are in it. But then the attack scene happens, and I could definitely see people going back to watch it in theaters for that scene specifically. Because that scene, I don't know, man. That scene blew me away when I saw it in theaters. It was really well done. The sound was great. The music was great. I thought the action was pretty decent. Especially for the fact that it's a PG-13 movie. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh no, I knew because I was like, this shield thing is keeping all the blood and head getting head throat slits out of here. I was like, I don't know if that's in the book but I was like, it's a well designed thing to make this PG-13 because I don't think there's any real. You can see a guy go under the neck and slit the throat, but like nothing really happens from it when he drops him on the ground. So,
I don't know. That scene to me was like, shit, things are actually like going down and falling apart. And
Yeah, but didn't you know that like that was coming though? Like even
yeah,
if you hadn't read the book.
Okay, even if you knew it was coming, you could still acknowledge the fact that it was a really well done scene, and that it was really impactful for what it was portraying. You know,
the house falling.
Yeah, the house falling, them getting attacked by House Harkonnen and the Sodeker.
Yeah, I mean, like they're teaming up, dude. I don't know. I'm just saying, like it kind of. I don't like it when they talk to the Baron, and they essentially say our plan's working. We're gonna kill the House Atreides, right? We won't kill the son or the mom. The whole house is going down. And I just, okay, awesome. Glad, like they're telling you what's going to happen and then they do it. Like, that's what I'm saying. Just make it a little bit, take out some of the book aspect. You know, take out some of the book. You could use a little bit more visual or a little bit more, mystery behind what's kind of happening. You know, I mean, the problem I guess I have is that from point A to point B, they're telling me what's going on and then it happens. And that's kind of how books are like, that's how I kind of feel about like that, you know, with the book, and that's how it goes. I mean, it leaves it up to you. You're creating the world in your head while you're reading the book, right? Mm-hmm. So you can, as you're going through and having the characters, you have your own projections and your own visuals of the world. So as you go through and do the book and you're reading it, like I got to imagine like it's really cool in your head. Well, now they're taking that and putting it on the screen. So now it's like, all right, take some of the book out of it, right? I mean, I don't know how to make the Baron scene cool. I just didn't like. I don't know. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It was like I didn't really the emotional disattachment that I had with the characters and the fact that I was just like kind of here's the next one. Here's where we're going with it. It was meandering to me.
You didn't even like the Baron. You didn't like Stellan Skarsgård.
Oh, I did. I mean, he was cool, right? I liked how he would float up.
I thought he was one of the best parts of the movie. Whenever he was on screen,
yeah,
he just chewed up the scenery.
Well, and that's so. Bautista goes and talks to him the first time, mm-hmm. and then the second time he kind of talks to him, and then there's this little like, oh, the Harkonnens aren't leaving. Like, screw the Emperor. Like, this is our spice. We're not giving it up, right? And then they go like, hey, the Emperor's teamed up with them, and you're like. Awesome. Okay, cool. So like the Emperor doesn't like House Atreides then. So now it's really making this big deal about Timothée Chalamet, Paul. Mm-hmm. But I'm already like, all right, I've already can tell that Paul's gonna go this way. So we're just it's building up. I'll say that because I think what's gonna happen in the second film is that there's gonna be a lot more choices that have to be made. Obviously, and maybe House Atreides comes back since he's still an Atreides. You know, maybe he gets the Fremen into the house. Maybe he creates this. Like, I think there's a lot more going on. I think this was just it's 2.5 hours of exposition, but they just didn't make it like fun for me. You know, but I really do think the visuals and the sounds were amazing. Like, I'm with you on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. No, seems like it connected in different ways or didn't connect in different ways.
Yeah.
From the sound of it. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I guess besides like the visuals and the sound, what was something that you enjoyed about the movie?
I'm trying to think. Duncan Idaho was cool.
Okay.
He was a fun character.
Jason Momoa.
Yeah, he was definitely fun. There were some times I laughed. I did like the governor. I don't know what his Atreides. Oscar Isaac's
the
character.
Duke.
The Duke, yeah. Mm-hmm. I liked him, and I thought he was doing the best he could. It was for his people, and I mean, it appeared like for the Fremen too. He goes in there, and I really did like that he was going in there to, obviously, this was a big step for him in the house, but it was also a chance for him to help that world. As far as Paul was concerned, because I know Paul was saying like we came here to help the Fremen too. Mm-hmm. So that was cool. That I think that and and then Jameis. Do you remember the fight at the end with Jameis?
Yeah.
That guy is in Too Old to Die Young.
He is. He's the he's like the mob boss guy in the hockey rink. Kinda.
Yeah, he was in,
or like the drug lord or whatever.
He's the Jamaican drug lord. Mm-hmm. He was talking about like when they were at the palm trees, And I was like, man, that voice sounds familiar. And then we saw his face. This is another thing I didn't like too. I'm not gonna lie. They do a premonition, right? Paul has another vision. I mean, he had visions all the time, and he has one with Jameis, and Jameis helps him get out of the windstorm. You know, the big sandstorm.
Yeah.
And then they go to fight, and he's got to overtake him.
Yeah. That to me was more of like, I don't know. To me, that was more of like Paul getting more in tune with the things that he sees that could happen, I guess.
Yeah.
Like the possibilities that might not necessarily happen, but he could see it easily going that way, and like him sort of like choosing a path. Because to me, that was sort of what happened when he was like looking at the knife and he had the visions of Zendaya stabbing him.
You're right.
And like the voiceover saying, to gain a life, you have to take a life, or something along those lines.
Yep.
And obviously in the visions, he's thinking about the fact that he's the one that's dying, but in that moment he realizes, oh, this is something that I need to do to someone else in order for me to go through this sort of transformation.
Right.
And I don't know, I think that helped me out a little bit with the context of what was going on. But I don't know. Yeah, it was I could see how people would be like, well, you showed him like being buddies with him, and now he's like just stabbing him and killing him at the end of this.
No, that makes sense. That's why I was kind of curious as to, I don't know. I guess it's just me just not really getting in tune with Paul. I mean, I hope the second one comes out. It's like I need to watch the first one again. That's what I'm hoping for.
Okay.
So what about you? What did you like about it?
I really liked most of the acting. I do think Timothée Chalamet has a tendency to be sort of blank sometimes.
Yeah.
There were a few scenes where he's like, pretty into it and pretty emotionally beaten down, where I was like, okay, I can believe this. But he is kind of overshadowed by a lot of the other actors around him. I really especially liked Rebecca Ferguson's character,
the mom,
Lady Jessica. Yep. I really liked her character a lot, and I think her acting was one of the best performances in the movie, aside from maybe Stellan Skarsgård, because I thought him as the Baron was really good casting, I think, and he portrayed him in like such a like disgustingly horrific manner.
Oh, it was awesome.
I thought it was really good.
Yeah,
and all the other characters, they're really well portrayed. Oscar Isaac's great. Josh Brolin is good. Duncan Idaho is, Jason Momoa. I thought that was really well done. I don't think there was like a bad performance in the movie. I guess Zendaya didn't do as much as I thought she would.
Yeah,
she was very like heavily advertised in the movie, and like you see visions of her throughout from Paul, but you don't really see her as a character until the very beginning, like for a second, and then at the very end, like the last 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. No, agreed.
Yeah.
I didn't like Bautista. I thought he was overacting, and I was like, he does remind me of a child. Like
I think that's kind of what they were going for, though, because he's the nephew of the Baron.
Yeah, 100%.
To not get into like too much of spoilers for like potentially the next movies, but there is another character that sort of mirrors him in a way, and I think the way he's acting in comparison to that other character that might come eventually is in line with how he would actually act. He's kind of like this sort of like almost like a brat in a way.
Bautista or the other character?
Bautista.
Yeah.
Because he's sort of like overly emotional about things. The Baron, despite being this evil, monstrous looking dude, is pretty cool-headed when it comes to a lot of what happens in the movie.
Yeah, he's very wise, but he has leverage and he knows how to use it.
Yeah. Whereas like Bautista's character is sort of like the embodiment of that militaristic rage of the Harkonnen house.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I thought he did an okay job.
I did too.
I definitely saw Dave Bautista though.
Oh, 100%.
100%.
Yeah,
like,
it wasn't even.
It just looked like Drax without the tattoos.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I was in the same boat. He'd do stuff, and I was just like, all right, it feels like a little bit of overacting, but I mean, as soon as we started talking about him with the Baron, I was like, they're related, so I guess I definitely, to say if they were or weren't related, he wouldn't do the same sort of acting.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But the fact that they are makes it feel more genuine towards how you would be with a nephew.
It's in line with who he can play.
Yeah.
And you, like I said, it embodies that sort of like militaristic rage /
immaturity,
entitlement, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Javier Bardem, I thought he was good. He was
awesome.
I
didn't even know it was him too, and then he comes in there and does his thing. Because I don't want. That was a funny part of the film. Like that was actually one of the parts I was like, oh, this is a little bit less serious.
Mm-hmm.
He was awesome.
Yeah, I liked him. I don't think there was a bad performance necessarily throughout the movie.
Gurney, I think was the only one that I just. A little overacting, but I love Brolin, so I don't really,
I thought it suited him. I thought it was okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
think it was like standout. It wasn't like he
wasn't good. I just didn't think it was. How everyone with I don't know. The problem I had just with how it is with it being so serious, is that when a guy has to be serious in a serious film, it seems like it's amplified.
Is that why you liked Duncan Idaho a lot?
Yeah, no, he was like, for me as a moviegoer, he was a guy that kind of took the step back. I mean, like you're going into, listen, I mean, the whole time this to me was rife with like a political war. I mean, it screamed like 1990s Afghanistan or Iraq. Going in there, you got a country going in there to take over a resource and drive out the natives, right? Drive out an existing force. Mm-hmm. So I mean, like this had a lot of political rift.
It's got a lot of themes going on.
Yeah, strewn between it. So like, and I was trying to pick up on the religious aspect because I was trying to figure out, all right, is there a, for this resource, is there a religious center to it? And the Messiah, I mean Paul, but that's kind of for the universe, I guess, or the galaxy. Mm-hmm. So that's why I could have used a little bit more lightheartedness, and even with Paul, and I just don't think anyone was there to kind of deliver that. So you definitely feel a pressure the whole time, right? But you got to really, if you don't feel that pressure, I think it's just whatever. Yeah. So that's how I felt, and that's like Gurney. I was like, serious film, Gurney's way too serious right now, and I know he's got to be serious, but like now this just seems even. That's why I say it felt like overacting. But no, I agree. I thought everyone was. I thought everything was really good besides kind of where the story went. But it's not done. It's not a standalone film. So like,
right.
We in a typical movie, we just had 2.5 hours of one movie. But in a typical movie, that might be the first 30 minutes of a film, which a lot of people tune out or say, man, the first 30 minutes of a film was bad. But then once you hit the second act, like they're like, man, it just took off.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, I'm hoping that they get to make more. It's very dependent on how much money it makes, because right now it's uncertain.
Oh, 100%. That's why I'm nervous too. Because when I saw it, I was like, man, like this is gonna. Well, just telling you, man. The problem is when you aim it at an audience, right? You really got to rely on the Dune. You have to rely on everyone that's probably read the book of Dune.
Yep.
Really likes the book, or is just maybe not like fantastical, but like.
Well, rely on the name Dune. Rely on the casting.
Yeah.
And possibly even the name of the director, Denis Villeneuve, because he's pretty much made like banger after banger.
Yeah, and this is a good like this isn't bad. Like it's not like poorly directed, or it's not like visually bad, or the sound, like it is gorgeous. Like you feel like you're in a different world with these people, but you're there. Mm-hmm. Like it's literally just the story and how I felt about the characters.
Okay.
But
we'll have to see where it goes.
Do you think if you had to say yes or no, do they make a second one?
I would say yes.
Yes?
I would say yes. This is a pretty big movie that's coming out in a time where not a whole lot of other movies are as big as this.
Right.
So I think this one's going to stand out. I'm hoping that it makes enough money. They marketed the hell out of it. So
they did a lot for this film.
I've got my fingers crossed.
And we'll see, because if you like that action sequence, and a lot of people do, they like that action sequence. Once you get kind of to the maybe the start of the third act of this one, or halfway through the second act, when all that starts popping off, they'll probably be in all right shape.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, for even people like myself, because that's what drew me back in. Like, I actually at one point I was kind of hoping there was a little bit more time on the clock, and then probably 10 minutes after that I was like, why the fuck did I think that? So
no, the future is uncertain, but we'll see. If you had to give it a rating, what would you give it?
Oh, this would probably be like a 6.
Okay.
Like,
that's better than what I thought you would give it.
No, and like, you gotta, I try to take a whole thing in. So I mean, yeah, I was not really emotionally invested in this thing. I didn't really care about the characters. It was a little bit of a slog because I thought it was really melodramatic, but the worlds, the visuals, the soundtrack. I mean, the sandworm. There were moments that I felt anxious. You know, it's like everything good that happened, there was always like a bad that followed, to me, you know, with what was happening. So I thought, I mean, I think it's really good and it's well crafted, and you know, and the story, I mean, just that whole universe, to put it in 2.5 hours. I mean, it takes a lot to do that. So, but it would have been higher had I liked more characters in it, or if it felt like it was appropriately paced. I mean, for it dragged. So, okay. What about you? What do you got?
I would probably give it probably the same as Chopper, about an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
Closer to a 9 than a 7.
So, do you think did you appreciate this more too for some of the character development and the writing for the characters? Like, I think that might be between me and you, some of the difference too, because, you know, it sounds like you picked up a little bit more on the characters and maybe the emotional states, and you could add to the gravity of what was happening with the landscape and the environment.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I don't know. It's more of like something along the lines of, like, you know, I read the book, and me watching the movie, I was thinking the whole time, how closely are they going to adapt it? How closely are they going to follow the narrative of what Frank Herbert wrote? And, you know, surprisingly, they followed really closely. You know, I don't think there was anything that was super different from the book compared to the movie, at least from what I remember. And like I said, it's been a few years since I read it.
Yeah.
You know, as far as the characters themselves go, that's more of like me sort of anticipating where the story is going, knowing what's going to happen. And me being like excited, like, okay, I'm seeing like the first sort of revelations of like this character and what he's going through. And now I can anticipate what's going to come later, and how, excuse me, getting choked up, how that's going to change him.
He's crying, y'all.
Yeah. How that's going to change him for potentially the better or the worse.
Yeah.
Which, you know, well, we'll see, hopefully. But
cool.
A lot of my appreciation for the movie comes from where it's going, and I think it's going to go in a good place. But I don't know. I don't want to hold my breath too much.
We'll find out. They'll know. They'll probably know after the first 2 weeks. I mean, they'll have a pretty good forecast on, all right, we're going to make enough money for this to be considered good. I mean, because if there's going to be 3 movies, it's either we're going to make the next 2 or we won't.
Yeah.
You know, I think if 2 gets made, 3's for sure get made regardless of what happens to 2.
Right.
You know, so.
Maybe they'll do like a back-to-back thing where they shoot them both at the same time, but then like just release them 1 year after another. Pulling Avengers, you know?
Yeah. That'd be cool. All right.
We'll see. I have a movie that I get to pick.
Oh,
I get to do a film pick.
That's right. Debbie does Dallas.
So I have a few choices for.
I get to pick. I'm like, you're gonna give me a choice?
No, you don't get to pick. I get to pick.
Well, I know you're picking. I'm saying you're gonna read off 3 movies, and I'm gonna be like, give me option B, or you're just gonna say these are the 3 I'm thinking of.
I'm just going to pick one.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
All right, are you reading off the ones that you're?
No, I don't think I'm going to give away what's on my list.
Whoa!
Because I have a short list.
I got to make a list
that I've accumulated for recommending on this podcast. Let me just look up some information about this film real quick. All right, this is a film that came out in 2004.
2004.
It was
Directed by
Michael Gondry. Written screenplay by Charlie Kaufman.
Oh, Squid and the Whale.
Nope, it is more of like a romantic sci-fi, and I haven't seen it in a while, but I have seen it before. I don't know if you have.
Melancholia.
It stars Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet.
Oh, this is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is what I'm picking for next episode's discussion.
All right.
Have you seen it before?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How long has it been?
I think there's going to be a lot of movies that if you got to pick them out that I've probably seen. But this is a good one. I really enjoyed this one. I've only seen it once too. And it was it was probably 8-9 years ago. So this would be a really good
long minute then.
Really good rewatch.
Yeah.
100%. But this is a good one because I do like this one.
I've only seen it once too. And I've been wanting to revisit it. And I think, perfect opportunity. Talk about it on the podcast. Watch it again after not seeing it for a while.
Yeah.
And seeing how it holds up.
Yeah, there's another Charlie Kaufman. Can you look up his... Because if we're going to talk about Eternal Sunshine, I might watch another one of his films because I know there's a couple. I just can't remember if he wrote The Squid and the Whale because that's one that I really want to watch.
Let me look it up real quick. Okay. Squid and the Whale. I don't see that on here.
Yeah, I might be Did Charlie Kaufman write Adaptation? Is that
Yes.
He did.
Yep.
Okay. Have you seen Adaptation?
I have not. Do you wanna watch that too for
what
next
other
episode?
does he have on there? Because I was thinking maybe one that neither of us have seen. I like doing the neither of us have seen.
So there's
and I like ones that we haven't seen in a while.
So a lot of the movies that he doesn't direct.
Right.
He just writes a lot of them. It's only like the past few movies that he's worked on he's directed.
Right.
So there's Being John Malkovich.
Seen it. That one's maybe a different time.
Human Nature. Adaptation. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
That one is with George Clooney, and it's about
Drew Barrymore, George Clooney.
He was a game show host, or he made up in his own head. I forgot. He had this guy was weird. Yeah.
Okay. There is... Hold on, I gotta scroll back now. Anomalisa. There's Synecdoche, New York.
Ooh, I think Philip Seymour Hoffman's in that one.
Yep.
Have you seen it?
Philly Seat. I haven't seen it. I've heard of it.
You've heard of it?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to step on this, but
there's I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which I have seen.
Oh, is that the one that's kind of like the it's a psychological thriller?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it good?
I mean, no, I really like I'm Thinking of Ending Things. I think I gave it a 10 out of 10.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What if?
Yep.
So we could do Internal. Do you think you could get 3 of his films in here?
3?
So I'm saying, because I'm going to watch Internal.
All right, how about this?
Well, no, I take that back. You haven't seen Adaptation, so you watch Adaptation. I'll watch I'm Thinking of Ending Things. And that way you've seen that.
You want to do a 3-fer then?
I'm just saying, like, let's just get a little bit of this would be a really good meat and potatoes episode for you. I mean, it's for a writer, and I'll be able to just talk about,
All right. Cool. So Adaptation, Eternal Sunshine, and I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that way you only have to watch, I don't know. Are you going to watch Internal as well?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we should both watch Eternal.
That's what I'm saying. I just want to make sure, because we've both seen it. If I'm going to watch it again, you recommended it, so I got to watch it. I was just saying it for you. Yeah, and then you can watch, because I think you'll really like Adaptation.
Okay. So I'll watch Adaptation. We'll both watch Eternal Sunshine, and then you'll watch I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about all 3.
I'll find it on YouTube. Yep.
Okay. I think this will be a little easier to find.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if I'll have my means.
All right. Episode 6, we're going to be talking about Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Adaptation, and I'm Thinking of Ending Things, all written by Charlie Kaufman. Some of those have different directors, but I can't remember them all right now. So if you want to watch those movies before episode 6 drops, be sure to view them so you're not spoiled. Thank you for listening to episode 5. You can find us on YouTube. If you search the Neon Crew podcast, our cool little profile with 15 subscribers pops up.
That grew. That's grown since episode 2. We were at 4.
It grew because of you. It grew because you subscribed to us.
That's usually what I say to someone else.
Oh, boy. And you can also find us on Spotify. If you look up the Neon Crew podcast, we'll be there as well. It's a neat little circle neon sign logo that I really like. Yeah. Thank you for listening, guys. Hope you enjoyed. And yeah, WWTHD. What would Tom Hardy do?
Remember, y'all, WWTHD.
Yeah.
Spring break.
That's James Franco.
What?